The city of Orlando is proceeding with a referendum on the issue. Judge just yesterday cleared it. I mean, I realize that there are certain state regulations, but there are some communities like Orlando that are talking about doing some sort of limited fashion of rent control. There are other places that are talking about at least rent notification ordinances. I wanted to get your thoughts on whether or not you would be supportive of either rent notification or some sort of actual rent control, provided it meets the parameters of state law. And I know there's a debate about that. Let's start with you, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you. So the city and county have put a lot of money into homelessness, but also a lot of energy into affordable housing. And the rental issue is critical. At a recent chamber meeting, we heard a presentation where the average rent in town, you need to earn $19 an hour to afford that rent. That's well above our average wages in town. So we've got an issue. I don't think we're at the point of needing a rent control ordinance or anything like that. I think notice is good, and I think legal services, legal aid, others who help renters, address issues when they come up is very helpful. So notification and other factors like that. But importantly, what we need to do is create more dedicated affordable housing. When the city sells property, that is the one time where we can really dictate what happens on that property. The city has sold property several times in the last few years to student housing complexes. Why did we not put out an RFP for affordable housing? Because we know the need is great. Yes, there's more units than we've seen in a long time. And the city and county has partnered on creating a land trust and doing a lot of other critical things right now. But the city can do so much more to increase that supply.
All right, thank you. Mayor Dailey?
Rent control is not the answer. Rent notification is something that we are currently looking at right now. But it is at the heart of the issue when we talk about product. We simply do not have enough housing product in our community. Look, folks, I mentioned earlier, we have the fastest growing economy per capita of any municipality in the state of Florida right now. We had over $950 million worth of private investment in Tallahassee last year. That's absolutely amazing. But if people don't have a place to live, then that's a big problem. That's a big issue. So now we're talking about the bigger issue of the growth, the sustainable growth of our community. And we do have very different philosophical approaches to how we grow. If we take a snapshot right now, in order to meet the growth needs of 2045, we need to build 30,000 units, and that's today. As we move forward, that number is going to increase. So we have to have that community conversation about the growth of our community in building more product. Thank you.
A follow-up?
Sure. I didn't really say anything directly about you, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, no, I made my mistake.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I apologize.
Good.
It's been a long week.
I read these things.
Yes, you're correct. My mistake. My apologies.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by different philosophical approaches. Our approach to the development projects that come, there is one big difference. We may support the same exact project at the end of the process, but at the beginning, John Dailey's ready on day one. I want to listen to the community. I want to ask the questions and make sure we have the best approach possible to get that right product at the end. Secondly, just last night, I was approached by 2 members of the city's Affordable Housing Board saying that the city has not moved forward on their recommendations to make it easier to do infill and to create affordable housing. I'm not sure what's happening with this issue, but these folks have been working for over a year on these small changes in growth management, and the city's not moving forward. We need to move more quickly so that we get more units, because yes, we do need to build a lot, and we need to address this problem.
Again, my apologies.
So as a member of the City Affordable Housing Community, I'm very, very, very pleased with the conversation that we've continued. And I've been continuing that conversation for 4 years so that, yes, I'm ready to move forward right now. And your city's doing some great creative things with our land use planning. For instance, changing our land use on old, outdated motels that can be refurbished into studio apartments. Now, this is the creative thinking that you expect from your city leadership to add more units, not just single-family homes with a yard. And we're doing that, and we're moving forward.
Okay. I lost control of that question, and I apologize. We're going to start with you. Next question. There's a question related to one of the audience wants to know about strategies with dealing with crime and the fact that there has been higher incidents of gun crime
And, you know, do you have any plans and goals for the reduction of gun crime and violence in the next 2 years? And if you could, please be specific as to something you think the city, if you're elected mayor, that you could do.
Certainly. First and foremost, from the county commission, I am very proud to support Sheriff Walt McNeil's initiative on the Commission on Status of Men and Boys. This is an entirely different approach based on the Anatomy of the Homicide report, and I look forward to the results of that work and to continuing the support from city, county, and I'm glad the school board has stepped up as well. And we also have a lot of community groups that are focused on this issue, from reentry to preventive measures. We need to think about a strategy and make sure we have the best approach to support all of those programs. But importantly, there's one other thing. We talk about policing a lot, and we need more patrol officers so that they can do the true community policing. A lot of the folks who knew the neighborhood so well over the years have retired. And over the last 4 years, I believe, the budget for patrol officers has decreased. The budget for training has decreased. And I am hearing from rank and file, from patrol officers and from others in the South Side particularly, that they want to see more patrol officers out in the neighborhoods and have the time to spend and do that good work in community policing so they can head off issues when they happen.
Mayor Dailey.
Near and dear to my heart as your mayor, because we all see it and we all feel it. And that is why I took the initiative several months ago and asked my colleagues to join me to set aside $1 million a year for the next 5 years, specifically for gun violence interruption programs. I've spent well over the past couple of years meeting with people, whether in my house, at my office, in church, in restaurants, in coffee shops, trying to convene stakeholders, really get to the root issue of how do we move this community forward. And I'm pleased with looking at my colleagues that we have an issue on our city commission meeting next Wednesday where we will address this. And yes, our police department has struggled over the years with hiring, and I'm here to tell you that we are hiring new officers and just sworn a new class not too long ago. We're almost at full ranks, and we're getting creative with our management by creating the Citizens Patrol that can handle the non-violent, non-criminal activities, which allows us to use our management of police officers to truly be on the street. Our community policing efforts are nationally recognized as one of the best in the country, and we're going to build on that success.
Quick follow-up. Meeting with constituents and learning more. The problem is that a number of people had, and I heard it too, we thought we knew exactly what was going to show up on the city commission agenda, and it created this controversy that was completely unnecessary. And they thought that there was recommendations coming out of these meetings. Now, I'm glad to see that the agenda for next week doesn't include those recommendations because it should be a public dialogue. So they're moving in the right direction. But these are unnecessary controversies that keep dividing people at the very time when we need to bring people together. Thank you.
I have never in my political life ever heard Michael McBride, who attended both meetings with your wife, of an unnecessary meeting, specifically when dealing with gun violence. I mean, this is my job as mayor, is to convene, and whether you like it or not, I will never shy away from my job. My job is to listen, to be out there, to talk to all the stakeholders, try to make a difference, move this community forward. I don't think we can, I'm looking at you, Michael, did we create any unnecessary, no, we listened. We listen to stakeholders that are in this business day in and day out on how to move this community forward. And I'm proud of all of the notes that we entered into the record and submitted to city staff for consideration.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We got 2 bites of the apple in that one.
This crowd already know how you all feel about the $27 million for FSU. But what I wanted to ask was a broader question about economic development in general. And basically, start with you, Mayor Dailey, but the question relates to, I'm assuming that both of you supported the tax extension when it was approved and it included the money for economic development. So just spell out to me, where exactly should taxpayer money for economic development go? What is the entity that it should not go to? You both supported Amazon, yet you all split on FSU with FAMU. So I as just would like you to explain what is the proper role in terms of, because you know some people, especially some people conservative would tell you that there should not be any financial assistance for private business. So I just want to get your thought process on what is the criteria that should be used for deciding whether or not to give taxpayer money to a private entity or to a university. Starting with you, Mayor.
Sure. Well, we have a process in place, a blueprint. We have a set aside that was created by the legislature that allows us to do this. And I don't think that there's any one magic answer. We take every application that comes before us, every opportunity that comes before us, fully vetted by staff, fully vetted by the public. We have our community conversations about how to move forward. And look, sometimes you're on the winning side, sometimes you're on the losing side. When it comes to dope, let me tell you, Charlie Barnes, you know as well as I do that we have $1 billion tourism industry here in town, and it was just reported to us, Democrat, that 1 out of every 5 people that come to our community come from sports-related activities. FSU football, FAMU football are the leading drivers. A $27 million one-time investment into into the Dope Game Stadium and $10 million in the Bragg Stadium nets between an $80 to $100 million economic return year after year. We're not talking about just construction jobs. We're talking about the pizza place on Main Street. We're talking about hotels, gas stations, everybody that owns any type of shop whatsoever. It moves our community forward, and I was proud of that budget.
Okay, Commissioner Dozier.
I'm very proud of Visit Tallahassee, run by the county, and $80 million is exactly what we received from the football season in 2019. But the question is actually about what the money can and should be used for, and whether or not we should have incentives. When we set aside 12% of the economic development funding, our infrastructure sales tax for economic development, we didn't have a set plan on what we were going to invest in. But in the first 2 years of that tax, and this is during COVID, we started collecting in January of 20. We all know we shut down in March. We had business grants immediately out in the community after COVID started. I supported that despite what he says. And we had invested in a number of different businesses, Amazon, Danfoss, Golden Lighting, a number of others, over $22 million in investment with over 3,000 jobs created. One of the most important projects is the incubator in Innovation Park, which I've worked on for 8 years. One of the best ways to recruit new businesses and grow entrepreneurs in your town is to have an incubator. And we never have had something like that. It's under construction right now. That's what we did with $22 million. The FSU project is fantastic. I love my alma mater. But the boosters could have raised that money themselves. They're raising over $100 million for that project. We could have done so much more with $27 million if we had broken it up, and it would have supported more construction jobs and created more permanent jobs for our community.
Thank you.